A Southeast Kansas doctor will co-chair a state work group on school safety. I'm Zach Dodge with what she hopes to accomplish as the pandemic hits schools in the beginning of the year. Coming up.
Plus, a local milk distributor stepped up when a school's bread delivery didn't come in.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. I'm Mike Mahoney. A Southeast Kansas doctor will co-chair a statewide work group aimed at keeping kids safe in school. It's a big topic right now as Kansas schools see COVID-19 cases and find themselves pivoting to more aggressive safety protocols. KOAM's Zach Dodge has that story.
As we move well into the beginning of the school year, Kansas school districts get hit with COVID cases, many being forced to close or change policies.
We've had obviously some positive cases and certainly some exposures.
The Schmitz School District will be requiring students and staff to wear masks inside school buildings starting on Monday. This after 49 students test positive and 219 are close contacts in the first 3 weeks. The superintendent says the change was made because of a drop in attendance.
It had dropped to right around 7% from what would have been the matching week a year ago. That's a big enough percentage to at least look at the issue again.
I am glad that schools and school boards are reevaluating. It is unfortunate because we also are using kind of the first week or two of school to say, well, let's just see what happens.
Dr. Jennifer Bacani McKinney is the Wilson County Health Officer as well as a physician in Fredonia. She doesn't like the trajectory cases are headed in, especially as the American Academy of Pediatrics reports about 204,000 cases of COVID in children over a week a few weeks ago, and Children's Mercy cares for 11 kids with COVID.
We saw what happened last year. We barely had any flu. We barely had any RSV. And already we're seeing flu and RSV. We had one patient the other day that had flu, RSV, and COVID. Unfortunately, that's what we're going to see if we just keep passing these things around.
And now she hopes to cut through rampant misinformation and help schools correct course. Dr. McKinney was just named co-chair of the state's new Safer Classrooms Work Group, a group of health professionals from around the state with the goal of gathering data on cases and vaccinations in schools and giving schools recommendations on what they can do to keep kids in person.
I'm hopeful that we will be able to take that data and analyze it and then share our guidance
at Bywriter's Labor Day sale.
Get schools to act before they get to that point where there are too many sick kids.
Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
The Kansas Safer Classroom Work Group will meet every week to share information on cases, quarantines, and vaccinations with districts in the state. Hey, what do you know? My buddy from the weekend is here. Chris Warner is filling in on weather. What's up, Chris?
Well, it's always good to pair up with you, Mike, and it is a good day to pair up with you because the weather wasn't too bad. The Weather Almanac, I do that every single time. It is on this side. We reached a high of 92, a low of 71 is how we started the day. A little bit above normal, not too bad, but thankfully nowhere near those records. What we are watching, though, is increasing storm chances, and that's going to pick up into tomorrow morning and then again through the weekend. So locally, nothing really lighting up. We got to go out into central Kansas where they've been dealing with off again, on again, severe weather, but nothing too crazy. And these storms really aren't expected to be severe by the time they get here. So let's take a look at tomorrow, shall we? There we can see this is early in the morning. We get a first round of storms that's going to kind of push through, and then we'll see some redevelopment and maybe on again, off again storms throughout the afternoon. We're heading for a high of 93. Starting the day at 70, 82 by 10, 90 by noon, and 93 at 4 with those storm chances kicking in about 9 a.m. We're going to break down the full forecast, and it's a wet one here in just a few minutes.
All right, looking forward to it, Chris. Thank you. Electric vehicle drivers traveling through Joplin now have a new spot to power up. Today, Liberty Utilities cut the ribbon on its new set of electric vehicle chargers at the Big Apple Travel Center. Liberty officials say it's an important tool for folks going electric so they can cut down on their carbon footprint.
But we're also focusing on school bus replacements, government truck, non-government truck replacements, but electric vehicle is why we're here today, and we're spending over $6 million in that infrastructure.
And representatives from Liberty Utilities, the Missouri Department of Natural Resources, Big Apple Travel Center, and the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce were there for the ribbon cutting. The Washington Family Hope Center of Joplin, part of Watered Gardens Ministries, needs your help to win some grant funding. The center is a finalist for the 2022 Chick-fil-A True Inspiration Awards and is in the running for a grant ranging from $50,000 to $150,000. And you can help by voting for the center. The more votes they get, the more money they can receive.
This facility last year, we've got that whole block that needs renovated. We got retaining walls that need repaired. There's a walking path that needs to put in, outdoor dining, and we still have an entire upstairs that needs renovated too, so we can provide more space for moms with kids.
The Washington Family Hope Center provides supports for struggling mothers and their children, and you can find out more about how to vote for them on the Watered Gardens website. A local businessman helps an area school that was facing the prospect of not having bread for all of its students. Quade Wilson from Anderson, Missouri is in the milk business. He runs a distribution company that delivers milk to the McDonald County School District. When he learned a worker shortage impacted bread delivery to the school from OPA Food Management, Wilson stepped up. He found a bakery in the region and delivered the bread to the school. This afternoon, OPA Food Management recognized Wilson with a service award.
Talking about that we didn't know where our next bread delivery was going to come from, and he said, Janie, I may be able to help you with that. And from there it just kind of very quickly turned into he is our new bread delivery as well as milk.
Wilson delivered enough bread to feed the roughly 3,500 students in the McDonald County School District. It is once again time for Little Balkans Days in Pittsburgh. Earlier today, folks were able to get an up-close look at the history of the city. It's part of what organizers are calling a living history event. The tour took place from 1st and Broadway to 7th and Broadway and finally to the historic Stillwell Hotel.
We hope to grow it eventually to have more towns, more stops, but we really wanted to bring back a little piece of history where it's a nice night, you can get a little exercise, it's a healthy educational experience, but you can learn a little bit about downtown and about Pittsburgh.
And there will be plenty more events for Little Balkans Days tomorrow and Saturday. An outdoor concert scheduled for tomorrow at 6:30 is being moved inside Memorial Auditorium. It is now time for us to honor one of our many four-state heroes. Tonight we recognize Glenn Delaplane of Viola, Kansas. Glenn served as a private first class in the U.S. Army and he fought in the Battle of the Bulge. He earned 2 Bronze Stars and many other honors. Thank you, sir, for your service and for fighting for freedom. For more information on any of our four-state heroes or to nominate your own, just log on to KOAMNewsNow.com. And we'll be right back with Chris Warner and another look at your weather. Plus,
more than 24 people are dead after the remnants of what was Hurricane Ida slammed into the Northeast yesterday. I'm Brian Yennis in Queens, New York, and I'll have that story coming up.
Well, warm has been the name of the game for the last few days, which will take over hot, which has been the name of the game for a good portion of August. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort time lapse. Of course, that's just outside of Seneca, Missouri, showing us that really nice warm day that we saw. Over the last 36 hours, temperatures have been doing all right compared to the past. Made it up to, we started rather at 72, made it up to 92 for today, but we do have some changes. So let's get right into what those changes are. You can see right here, we got showers and thunderstorms throughout most of the day on Friday, on again, off again. It's going to start in the morning and then kind of continue intermittently throughout most of the day. Through the day, 70s where we're going to start, 82 by 10, 90 by noon, 93 by 4, and it's around 10 a.m., 9:30 that the storms are really going to get going for the majority of us. Skywatch Storm Tracker is pretty quiet now, but that will be changing due to this batch of activity that's been intermittently severe across Kansas. Not expected to be severe by the time it gets here, but a few of the storms may be a little on the strong side. There is still a tornado watch, runs until midnight for much of north central Kansas and parts of south central Nebraska, but again, not going to get too crazy here. So here is what we are watching. The thunderstorm chances, again, will continue to increase. As they do, as I mentioned, some of them may be strong to marginally severe. If they do get a little rowdy, hail, wind are the main threats, nothing too crazy. And then by Labor Day, it's going to clear out and heat back up. So let's look into the future as to what these storms are going to do. You can see this is a cold front And we say cold, it's not going to make it cold, it's going to be cool, but it is a cold front that's going to start to roll through. So through the overnight hours tonight, there may be some thunderstorms for our friends in the northwestern part of our viewing area. And then as we track through the day, those storm chances will increase. And that's why we've got increasing storm chances through the afternoon. It may be a little bit breezy, so light winds initially, but we may see some gusts. And of course, if we do get any of these stronger storms, they may gust a little higher. The thing is, the storms don't stop. They continue into the weekend. This is Saturday morning, about 2:30. You can see more widespread showers and thunderstorms across the area. As we progress through the day on Saturday, kind of the same thing. It's going to be on again, off again. Thunderstorms associated with this cold front as it rolls through. And that's going to then continue even into Sunday. Sunday morning, we're going to start off all right, but then we do have some chances of storms developing again by Sunday afternoon. And that gets us into that 7-day forecast. So again, tomorrow we're holding about a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms for most of us, and those chances will increase. But as the storm chances increase, take a look at this. Temperatures decrease. 91 Saturday, 83 on Sunday. As we head into Labor Day, though, things are going to clear out. It's going to be a lot nicer. It qualifies as hot because it's going to be above 90. But look, let me tell you something. The dew points, which have been contributing to these unpleasant temperatures, will be considerably lower going into next week, which means even though we're going to see these warmer temperatures, take a look at the lows, dipping down to 59 Tuesday night, 58 Wednesday night, and then rebounding so quickly because the air is going to be so dry. So it's not going to be as miserable out there as it has been.
Thanks, Chris. And up next, the death toll keeps rising in the Northeast after the remnants of Hurricane Ida brought tornadoes and devastating floods. The remnants of Hurricane Ida are leaving behind widespread destruction in the Northeast. People across the region are cleaning up after heavy flooding and tornado damage. Fox News' Brian Yennis has more.
FEMA is on the ground and ready to provide all the assistance that's needed.
President Biden offering states the federal government's full support after Hurricane Ida in the Northeast. Record-breaking rainfall quickly turning highways into rivers and leaving some neighborhoods completely underwater.
I want to express my heartfelt thanks to all the first responders and everyone who's been working through the night and well into the morning to save lives and get power back.
The storm killing several people, including a mother and son who died after water flooded their New York home. In New York City, several inches of rain fell in just a few hours, swamping the underground subway system and bringing public transportation to a near standstill.
So many lives were saved because of the fast, courageous response of our first responders. This happened literally hundreds of times last night.
Today, first responders conducted water rescues across the tri-state area, working to remove people trapped in vehicles and basement apartments. In southern New Jersey, people are also cleaning up after a tornado tore through a community, tearing roofs off of homes and collapsing walls. Governor Phil Murphy toured the damage today, promising to help residents and businesses.
We will not relent. We will stand by the sides of everybody who's been impacted by this in New Jersey until we get back on our feet.
At least 12 people have died in New York City from yesterday's historic rainfall, including at least 11 people who've died in basement apartments just like this one. In Queens, New York, Brian Yennis, Fox News.
Ida created one heck of a rain delay for a New Jersey baseball team. This is video of flooding at the Somerset Patriots baseball stadium in Bridgewater Township, New Jersey. According to NJ.com, a spokesman for the minor league team wouldn't say how many inches of rain the stadium received or when the team thinks the flooding will subside. The mayor of Bridgewater says the ballpark's flooding was caused by the overflowing of the Raritan River. When we return, a controversial abortion law in the Lone Star State has gotten the nation's attention.
President Biden blasts the Supreme Court's decision not to curb a controversial abortion law in Texas. I'm Lauren Blanchard outside the Supreme Court. I'll have more on this story coming up.
Welcome back to your news at 9. Abortion rights advocates are sounding the alarm over a new Texas law banning abortions after the detection of a heartbeat. The Supreme Court has declined to grant an emergency appeal of the law, meaning it remains in effect for now. Fox News' Lauren Blanchard is at the Supreme Court with more.
President Biden wants the Department of Health and Human Services and the Justice Department to get involved after the nation's most restrictive abortion law went into effect in Texas.
The Supreme Court declined to stop it, the majority writing the Texas clinics questioning the law's constitutionality had not, quote, met their burden to prevail in an injunction or stay application.
He believes that it's up to a woman to make those decisions.
As for questions of court packing or expanding the court,
rulings like that do raise concerns.
Attorney General Merrick Garland writing, we are evaluating all options to protect the constitutional rights of women, including access to an abortion. Pro-life advocates are applauding the now conservative-leaning Supreme Court.
We don't believe that elective abortion is ethical. We believe that elective abortion represents an act of violence, an act of injustice.
Later this fall, the justices will take up a separate abortion case from Mississippi, which may impact other laws. But for now, the Texas heartbeat law remains in place.
It's really kind of sad, but nonetheless, people know now what the challenge is. And many of the women who will be disadvantaged in this are women of color and poorer women and the rest. It's an injustice.
Once they're back in session, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has guaranteed a vote on a bill that would guarantee access to abortions. However, the Senate is not likely to pass it. Outside the Supreme Court, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Still ahead, more European Union countries are getting tougher on U.S. tourists. And they are doing it with added restrictions because of the surging Delta variant. And we've got the details on what American travelers will have to deal with right after this short break. 2 more European Union countries are putting U.S. citizens on notice about new entry procedures because of the coronavirus Delta variant. U.S. travelers headed for Italy will now have to show testing proof before entry. Travelers can only come in if they show a negative molecular PCR or rapid antigen test result done within 72 hours of arrival, as well as an anti-COVID-19 vaccination certificate from a recognized agency or a confirmation of recovery no more than 6 months before departure. Those with no proof will have to self-isolate for 5 days and retest at the end. And Germany has now added the U.S. to its high-risk list as well. Well, stay right there. We have got a lot more news headed your way, as well as another look at your weather with Chris Warner and your KOAM Sports Report with Sports Director Jacob Leonard. That's all coming up right here on your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. And just ahead, a wildfire in France has winemakers concerned that their world-famous wine could suffer a drop in quality. Also,
U.S. forces are out of Afghanistan, so how will the Pentagon deal with terror threats there? I'm Doug Luzader in Washington. We'll have their latest strategy just ahead.
French winemakers fear a recent devastating wildfire could affect the quantity and quality of their wine. A deadly wildfire tore through a nature reserve near the French Riviera. The blazes killed at least 2 people, injured dozens more, and burned through thousands of acres of vineyards. One representative from a French wine group says although only 15% of their product was destroyed, the surviving grapes could still have been affected by the smoke and ultimately hurt the taste of the wine. But the wine group is promising aficionados that it will conduct strict taste tests to ensure the product they ultimately sell meets their high standards. A federal bankruptcy judge has given conditional approval to a sweeping settlement that would remove the Sackler family from ownership of OxyContin maker Purdue Pharma. Under the settlement, the Sacklers have to get out of the opioid business altogether and contribute $4.5 billion to fighting the opioid crisis. In return, they will be shielded from future lawsuits over opioids. McDonald's McFlurry machines will be getting a flurry of interest from a federal agency because of continuing problems. The fast food giant has been plagued for years over problems with its McFlurry machines that make a special ice cream treat. Now the Federal Trade Commission wants to know why. Franchise owners have complained about long cleaning times and repairs requiring a technician when the machine cleaning cycles fail. A lawsuit has also arisen between a third-party firm some franchises use to track McFlurry problems and the machine-making company over who can track and fix the machines. The FTC wants to review McDonald's suppliers, equipment, and owners working on their own machines. The fallout continues from the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. The Pentagon now says the United States may have to partner with the Taliban in order to prevent terrorist attacks. Fox News' Doug Luzader has the latest from our nation's capital.
There will be efforts in Congress now to dissect how all of this actually played out. The Pentagon, meantime, is trying to figure out new ways to address terror threats in Afghanistan. As we continue to see images of Taliban fighters showing off all of the U.S. arms and equipment left behind, the top brass at the Pentagon gave their assessment of the final withdrawal of U.S. forces.
It was heroic. It was historic.
The Secretary of Defense described the U.S. airlift effort, but with so much uncertainty now in Afghanistan, we may now have to rely on the Taliban to help tamp down terror threats.
In war, you do what you must in order to reduce risk to mission and force, not what you necessarily want to do.
Any possibility of coordination against ISIS-K with them?
It's possible.
And we have learned more about a phone call in late July between President Biden and the then president of Afghanistan, Ashraf Ghani, shortly before the government there fell to the Taliban. According to a transcript of the call obtained by Reuters, Biden told Ghani, "I need not tell you the perception around the world and in parts of Afghanistan, I believe, is that things are not going well in terms of the fight against the Taliban. And there is a need, whether it is true or not, there is a need to project a different picture."
Was the president in any way pushing a false narrative in that call with the Afghan president?
I think it's pretty clear. Again, I'm not going to go into details of a private conversation, but what we saw over the course of the last few months is a collapse in leadership.
And as many Afghans are resettled here in the U.S. and elsewhere, the administration now concedes that a majority of Afghans who held special immigrant visas were left behind. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
Jared Schmitz of Wentzville, Missouri, was one of 13 U.S. service members killed in an attack near the Kabul airport during the evacuation of Afghanistan. Reporter Russell Kinsall spoke with Jared's father about the life and legacy of his son.
Mark Schmitz said his son's remains should arrive in St. Louis in about a week or so, and has been told the state will be shut down as a large procession takes him to his final resting place, Jefferson Barracks National Cemetery. The family is very grateful for all the support they've received, including this billboard at I-70 and St. Charles Rock Road, one of two paying tribute to Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz. Mark Schmitz took a moment to kneel and pray at the Veterans Memorial in O'Fallon, Missouri today. Then he spoke to reporters about his son Jared with a mix of pride and grief.
And he has been my strength. He's been my light.
Schmitz said Jared wanted to be a Marine since he was a high school sophomore because he wanted to help others and make a difference. And that's what he believes his son was doing at the airport in Kabul. Schmitz said he learned more from Jared's commanding officer.
He said, these guys are truly heroes in every sense of that word.
He said Jared's commanding officer says his unit was working at the Abbey Gate, helping evacuees get to safety and a better life. He said Jared's unit ran to the gate to help out when a suicide bomber's device went off, killing Schmitz and 12 others.
There was a lot of commotion, a lot of mad rushing to the gate all at the same time. And these Marines, the ones that weren't already on the wall, were rushing in there to help. And he said, I've never seen bravery like that.
Schmitz flew to Dover Air Force Base over the weekend to watch his son's remains and those of the other fallen service members return to American soil.
Watching these gentlemen salute and give their respect to each fallen individual was really moving.
He said if any good can come from his son's death is that Americans put aside their differences and rally around the 13 fallen service members. Then he remembered his son with a quote from former President Ronald Reagan.
He says that some people will spend a lifetime wondering if they made a difference in this world. Marines don't have that problem. And my son doesn't have that problem.
We'll be right back with Chris Warner and another look at your weather.
Well, warm has been the name of the game for the last few days, which will take over hot, which has been the name of the game for a good portion of August. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort time lapse. Of course, that's just outside of Seneca, Missouri, showing us that really nice warm day that we saw. Over the last 36 hours, temperatures have been doing all right compared to the past. Made it up to, we started rather at 72, made it up to 92 for today, but we do have some changes. So let's get right into what those changes are. You can see right here, we got showers and thunderstorms throughout most of the day on Friday, on again, off again. It's going to start in the morning and then kind of continue intermittently throughout most of the day. Through the day, 70s where we're going to start, 82 by 10, 90 by noon, 93 by 4, and it's around 10 a.m., 9:30 that the storms are really going to get going for the majority of us. Skywatch Storm Tracker is pretty quiet now, but that will be changing due to this batch of activity that's been intermittently severe across Kansas. Not expected to be severe by the time it gets here, but a few of the storms may be a little on the strong side. There is still a tornado watch, runs until midnight for much of north central Kansas and parts of south central Nebraska, but again, not going to get too crazy here. So here is what we are watching. The thunderstorm chances, again, will continue to increase. As they do, as I mentioned, some of them may be strong to marginally severe. If they do get a little rowdy, hail, wind are the main threats, nothing too crazy. And then by Labor Day, it's going to clear out and heat back up. So let's look into the future as to what these storms are going to do. You can see this is a cold front. And we say cold, it's not going to make it cold, it's going to be cool, but it is a cold front that's going to start to roll through. So through the overnight hours tonight, there may be some thunderstorms for our friends in the northwestern part of our viewing area. And then as we track through the day, those storm chances will increase. And that's why we've got increasing storm chances through the afternoon. It may be a little bit breezy, so light winds initially, but we may see some gusts. And of course, if we do get any of these stronger storms, they may gust a little higher. The thing is, the storms don't stop. They continue into the weekend. This is Saturday morning, about 2:30. You can see more widespread showers and thunderstorms across the area. As we progress through the day on Saturday, kind of the same thing. It's going to be on again, off again. Thunderstorms associated with this cold front as it rolls through. And that's going to then continue even into Sunday. Sunday morning, we're going to start off all right, but then we do have some chances of storms developing again by Sunday afternoon. And that gets us into that 7-day forecast. So again, tomorrow we're holding about a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms for most of us, and those chances will increase. But as the storm chances increase, take a look at this. Temperatures decrease. 91 Saturday, 83 on Sunday. As we head into Labor Day, though, things are going to clear out. It's going to be a lot nicer. It qualifies as hot because it's going to be above 90. But let me tell you something. The dew points, which have been contributing to these unpleasant temperatures, will be considerably lower going into next week, which means even though we're going to see these warmer temperatures, take a look at the lows, dipping down to 59 Tuesday night, 58 Wednesday night, and then rebounding so quickly because the air is going to be so dry. So it's not going to be as miserable out there as it has been.
All right, thank you, Chris. And coming up in sports, Pitt State and Missouri Southern both hit the field to open up the football season. Plus, the two of the best teams in Southeast Kansas prepare to meet tomorrow night in Frontenac. Sports Director Jacob Leonard has the details coming up.
Tonight is the opening night of the season for Pitt State and Missouri Southern football. Both teams are on the road tonight in Week 1. Now, Pittsburgh State has a big one right off the bat in Warrensburg, Missouri, facing the Central Missouri Mules. This one is final. Check it out. Big win for Pittsburgh State. They topped the 13th ranked Mules 35-16. Quarterback Max Sexton, huge night. He finishes with 5 total touchdowns, 4 passing and 1 rushing. Missouri Southern Lions are on the road in Nebraska this evening, taking on the Nebraska Kearney Lopers in their opener. This one was actually in a weather delay for more than 2 hours. At the time of taping, game is scoreless at the end of the first quarter. Well, tomorrow night is the opening night of the season for Kansas high school football. Right off the bat, we get a big one in Southeast Kansas with Frontenac hosting Columbus. Now, these two teams, two of the best in the area. Frontenac is one of the highest ranked teams in Class 3A coming into the year. Now, last year, the Titans got the best of the Raiders on their way to an undefeated regular season. So Frontenac is out for a bit of revenge this time around, but either way, both teams are ready to get after it.
It's a big game for just our league, just get our confidence going for both teams. We're excited for the challenge. We knew it was a 6-6 game in the middle of the fourth quarter last year, and we didn't play very well for about 8 minutes, and they pulled it out. So our kids are hungry. We know how well we're going to have to play to beat them.
It doesn't take much to get us fired up to play a team that is actually a rival for us. So it's a good early test for us this first week of the season.
The Kansas City Chiefs are just 10 days away from their season opener. The Chiefs open their schedule on the 12th with a home game against the Cleveland Browns. Now, the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, joined us in studio earlier today to talk about the season, including the big opener against Cleveland. Talk about what you expect from that game, because obviously that's a nice test for a team that we're hoping is in the Super Bowl at the end of the season.
You look around all of the matchups in week one and the kickoff weekend, this looks like it's number one. If not, it's the top 2 or 3. You've got a team that lost a divisional playoff game that thought they should have won it because they knocked Mahomes out of the game, and then Chad Henne rescues the day. But now Cleveland thinks they're better. They did an excellent job. They got JOK in the draft. I'm a Northwestern fan, so Trevor Kent fans out there in Pitt High. But they got Greg Newsome as a number 1 draft pick at corner. So their talent in the secondary with what they've already had. They've got pass rushers. When you look at Myles Garrett, I know he's got some help, just check it out, that this is a team that's loaded. I think they'll win the AFC North, but to put these 2 teams together is like having 2 high school playoff teams meet in week 1.
You can check out our full interview with Holthus on Sunday on the Toyota Sunday Night Sports feed at 10 on KOAM. And that's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
Welcome back to your News at 9. Moderna is asking the FDA for clearance to use a 3rd booster dose of its COVID-19 vaccine. Currently, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration is considering booster shots of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. But as of now, the FDA has only allowed people with weakened immune systems to receive the 3rd doses of the Moderna and Pfizer shots. Reuters reports the FDA will meet to discuss Pfizer's booster shot application on September 17th, but it's not clear if they will discuss Moderna's application. Well, it's that time of the year. Kids are back in school or getting ready to head back. But a number of schools across the country are dealing with a shortage of bus drivers, and they are turning to parents for help. Fox News' Katie Byrne has that story.
We're still getting used to the schedule, waking up early, getting the kids in the car, getting them ready, making sure they have their snack, but we're getting there.
Nicole Little has 8 kids. 5 of them go to Eastside Charter School in Wilmington, Delaware. This year is the first time she's taking them to school instead of a school bus.
They always have in-bus rides, so there's something new for them. Like my son said this morning, Mommy, how come we can't ride the bus?
It was a big change. Little and her husband switched to the night shift to free up their days for drop-offs and pickups.
So we had to definitely rearrange our schedules.
But they're getting paid for it.
So I do have 5, so I guess it'll be like 700 times 5, so I think it'll be 3,500.
The school is offering parents stipends to take their kids to school after having trouble finding bus drivers. Parents get $700 per student.
We're going to take funding that we have, and instead of using transportation funding the way it's normally been done, we're going to start offering stipends to parents.
Aaron Bass, the head of the school, says more than 150 students have already signed up. They still only have about 50% of the drivers needed for the school year. It's a problem for schools in more than a dozen states.
Some of them have left, some of them have taken other jobs, and some of them making different decisions. And we can't speak to the root of everything. We do know the fact that right now, we need to make sure that children are in school.
And with COVID, this gave some parents peace of mind.
Our children that are under age 12 cannot get vaccinated even if they choose to. So to take students and cram them onto buses is not the best thing, 1, just for children in general, but 2, during a pandemic.
I didn't want my kids to be cramped up in a bus like some other schools are doing.
Parents who are making the switch to drive their kids to school instead say they're going to use that money for things like gas and school supplies. In Philadelphia, Katie Byrne, Fox News.
The number of Americans signing up for unemployment benefits is at a pandemic low. According to the Labor Department, first-time filings for weekly jobless claims were 340,000 last week. There is still some work to do, however. Back in March of 2020, first-time claims were just 256,000. Hey, we are not done yet here on your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. And when we return, you are going to meet a very friendly whale who was spotted giving a paddleboarder a helping hand, or maybe a helping fin. That story and more are coming up in just 2 short minutes. If you're a Marvel movie fan, the big screen is the only place where you can catch the next film installment when it debuts. Here's Fox News' Ashley Dvorkin with a look at what's coming to theaters and streaming.
The 10 Rings gave our family power.
Shang-Chi and the Legend of the 10 Rings is in theaters.
Simu Liu stars as Shang-Chi, who is a martial arts master who's run from his past, run from his family, and then he's hanging out in America when he is drawn back into a web of the mysterious 10 Rings organization.
Tell me this isn't happening again. In limited release is the crime thriller The Gateway.
It's about a down-on-his-luck social worker who finds himself a bit over his head when he tries to protect one of his clients from her recently paroled husband, who is a drug dealer.
I have to make a life for myself. Amazon Prime adds Cinderella with Camila Cabello.
This is a musically driven, sort of bold new take is how they're framing it.
You make sure that they get what they need. On Netflix is Worth, about the September 11th Victim Compensation Fund.
Michael Keaton plays an attorney whose job it is to determine how much to compensate the families who suffered losses in the September 11th attacks. Along the way, he's learning a lesson in empathy, because with every dollar amount, there is a person and there is a story there.
Candyman currently leads the box office.
$22 million on a $25 million budget, which is a very good opening for this sequel. And the director, Nia DaCosta, did make history by becoming the first African-American female director to top the box office. It was a bookend of this summer where A Quiet Place Part 2 was the first big horror movie of the summer. There's nothing left.
And that summer sequel, A Quiet Place 2, is now on demand. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
All right, here's a fun story to end the show on. A paddleboarder in Argentina gets a helping hand from a friendly whale. Here you can see a southern right whale gently pushing the woman forward as it swims directly under her. The encounter comes during the start of the migration season of the whales in the Argentine Patagonia. According to the tourism secretary in the city of Puerto Madryn, more than 1,600 whales have come near the city's shore this season. Hey, well, thanks so much for spending some of your Thursday evening with us. We'll leave you with a video of a new baby panda over in France. And I'll be back tomorrow, so be sure to stop by for more KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. Have a great night. Stay safe out there.